Hello everyone, welcome back to Allcarnews, and you join us here today with the first vehicle we have to review of 2026. This is the 2026 Mazda CX-30 here in the new Aire Edition with the turbo engine under the hood. And the 2026 Mazda CX-30 lineup, of course, is getting a few little changes here and there to make it fresher and more modern than ever. And this Aire Edition is, of course, one of those new main changes for 2026. Now, shockingly, we reviewed every single Mazda almost on our channel, except for the CX-30 somehow. So welcome to the first CX-30 review on Allcarnews, and I absolutely adore this vehicle. Just as we love the Mazda 3 hatchback for its really fun, dynamic driving experience, premium interior, and really awesome looks, the CX-30 follows suit in all of those spaces with even a little bit more interior cargo space, and of course a little bit more capability with it being a sort of SUV in that aspect. And of course, in this video, I'm going to take you on a full in-depth tour and review of this 2026 Mazda CX-30, why I still think this is probably one of my favorite vehicles in this entire really small SUV segment, and why you should consider a CX-30 if you're shopping for something in this space. Let's go dive in. Now, for the 2026 model year, under the hood has not really changed for the Mazda CX-30 lineup, and that's not a bad thing at all. Entry-level Mazda CX-30 models are getting a pretty potent powertrain actually, with a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, making just around the 190 horsepower range and getting pretty decent fuel economy. What's also great is every single Mazda CX-30, from the base model up to this turbo trim, gets I-Activ all-wheel drive as standard. And for 2026, Mazda is now introducing a brake torque vectoring differential as well as revised damping and suspension all around for even more of a premium ride feel. So they're really even pushing the CX-30 to be even more toned in for this 2026 model year. Now, since this Aire Edition is a new trim, you can actually get it in either the naturally aspirated 4-cylinder or the Skyactiv-G Turbo, which we have here. And this is, of course, a wonderful engine, and I love that Mazda offers it in pretty much every single vehicle on this architecture, from this Mazda CX-30 to the Mazda 3 to the Mazda CX-50 and the CX-5 as well. And it's a great engine. It's a 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, making up to 250 horsepower and up to 320 pound-feet of torque on 93 pump gas. Now, if you put in 87, you'll get around the 227-ish horsepower range, up to around 310 pound-feet of torque. So Mazda does give you that flexibility to put any fuel in this vehicle that you want. And this is probably one of the most efficient applications of this engine you can get. They claim up to around 30 mpg on the highway in this particular one. And a really interesting thing about this engine in the CX-30 is there is no auto stop start. So if you hate that feature, you don't have it here at all actually. So it's actually even more of a smoother driving experience. And of course, it's still paired to Mazda's venerable 6-speed automatic gearbox, totally fine transmission, though in this Turbo Aire Edition, you actually don't get paddle shifters. You have to go up to the Turbo Premium Plus to get the paddles, but you do have a manual shifting mode from the center shifter over there as well. Now, as I mentioned, for the 2026 model year, some things have changed for the Mazda CX-30's lineup, particularly the new Aire Edition. So like I said, there's two Aire Editions you can get. You have the naturally aspirated one, which builds upon the preferred package, and we have this one, which is the entry-level turbo model now actually. So the only two turbo trims for 2026 are the Turbo Aire Edition and the Turbo Premium Plus, and they're a little bit different. This Aire Edition, as you can see here, is getting all of this really nice blacked out trim. So we have a blacked out front grille up front over here, a darker lower spoiler section. We are also getting a blacked out Mazda badge and blacked out badging on the rear of the vehicle as well, including black gloss painted mirrors, black roof rails. You're kind of getting the theme here. It's all almost like a blacked out trim package. This one is finished in this really nice ceramic gray metallic paint finish. There are, I think, 2 or 3 different paint options you can get on this particular Aire Edition, though of course the CX-30 can be had in a host of other colors in the other trims you can get, from the Carbonate Edition to the Preferred to the Select Sport. All of those have a whole bunch of different colors you can actually get on your CX-30. We still have these very bright and sleek LED adaptive headlights up front over here with that little side signature on the piece as well. And I think the CX-30 still looks very refresh for the 2026 model year. Maybe soon we'll see some updates to keep it in line with the newer changes that we're seeing on the Mazda CX-5 redesign that is coming out later this year. Coming over to the wheel and tire front, this Air Edition is also getting you these really slick 18-inch black alloy wheels, painted of course, and again the Air Edition is following through with that blacked out Mazda badging, so this little badge on the center cap over here is a blacked out Mazda logo as well. I like how this doesn't feel like a small wheel on this vehicle, even though it's only 18 inches. The car overall is generally pretty small, and these large black plastic fenders that we've seen on the CX-30 since it came out kind of helps to blend in with all this stuff over here together. Now this tire, this Bridgestone tire, is actually pretty good for this vehicle, and as I mentioned, behind this wheel and tire package we actually have an updated suspension for the 2026 model year. Mazda has said that they've retuned the dampers to give you a little bit more of a plusher but still controlled overall experience in your Mazda CX-30, which I think is really great. And again, we're also getting that new brake electronic limited slip differential on this vehicle that Mazda is talking with, and you still have that standard G vectoring control plus. And what that does is it's taking inputs from the all-wheel drive system, from the suspension, from the brakes and everything, and it kind of helps to control, it's almost like a brake torque vectoring system throughout the corners that's constantly working with all the vehicle systems to really deliver you that Mazda signature driving experience at all times. And I like how that's standard on every Mazda CX-30. Coming out to the rear of this 2026 CX-30 Air Edition Turbo, we have a black painted upper spoiler section over here, as well as a really nice dark privacy glass on the rear, makes it look really nice and sporty. But you're also going to find these darked out Mazda badges back here, as well as your CX-30 badge, your Turbo badge as well. All that's all darked out for this Air Edition. I think it looks really nice and tasteful. The rest of the design though is still very in line with the rest of the CX-30 lineup. Very slim signature LED taillights over here, always have looked great on the Mazda CX-30. And of course we have our lower unpainted bumper down here, but we do have parking sensors integrated around back here. And this one is getting the 360 camera system as well. Now popping open our trunk back here, of course, we are getting a powered tailgate on our Mazda CX-30, and the CX-30, while it is probably one of my favorite vehicles in this class, isn't the largest. We have around 20.2 cubic feet of cargo space behind our second row seats when they're up, and I do like all the nice carpeting back here. We have a cargo cover that you can remove as well, which is a nice touch. And popping open our floor panel over here, we're going to find a spare tire. Now, since this one does get the upgraded 12-speaker premium Bose audio system, which is fantastic in Mazdas, we do get a subwoofer back here kind of integrated into the middle of the spare tire, but pretty nice compact packaging back there. It is also nice that we are getting a spare tire in this vehicle, and there's a whole host of different accessories we can get on Mazda's website to kind of outfit the rear area of this trunk space. Now, one reason why you may consider a Mazda CX-30 is not only just for its amazing driving dynamics and looks, but the interior quality overall is just hands down probably best in class. It feels like something a step above. Now, I love these very slim door handles we have on the Mazda CX-30. Let's see how wide our rear door opening is. Pretty decently wide. I think that's as far as you're going to get, as close to like a 90-degree angle. Now, the CX-30 is a smaller vehicle. Even getting into the rear seats, it's a little bit on the smaller end. Hopping inside for me, so 6-foot-tall adult is generally okay. Have a look at this door panel over here. We have privacy glass up top here. Lots of nice door sealing around you to help you have an isolated cabin. Also, the door panel itself, a nice amount of different materials up here. So harder plastic up here, but we do get soft touch materials all on the centerpiece over here, and this really nice contrasting gray real stitching over here as well. This particular one is also getting these illuminated aluminum side seal plates that say CX-30 on them. And just check out this absolutely gorgeous gray and white leatherette interior. So we have these gray microsuede inserts in the center portion of the seats and this white leatherette around it. This is a gorgeous interior for this class of vehicle. Let's hop inside and see what we're getting in the rear seats of the CX-30. Again, getting in, it's a little bit on the smaller end of a vehicle, but I can fit in pretty well actually back here. And let's shut up our door. Nice, solid thunk. So what's going on back here? Well, I am a 6-foot-tall adult, for example, and yes, it is snug on the snugger side, but I do fit back here, actually. This is my driving position up front over here. My knees fit perfectly fine back here. My feet have an incredible amount of space, actually. I'm actually quite surprised by that. I have so much room back here. Door panels over here, not much is going on. Like I said, we have a nice armrest, decent amount of storage space down here as well. And we do have our own window control back here, which feels quite nice. We have our own grab handle back here as well. And we're even getting air vents in this center console area over here, which is actually a very nice welcome touch. The only omission I can see is that we actually don't have any storage behind the front driver's seat, but we are getting a storage pocket behind the front passenger seat, which is actually quite large and nice as well. The seats themselves are honestly absolutely amazing. I love this duotone kind of gray white leatherette material design. Not only does it look really great, they are insanely comfortable. And we are getting our own armrest back here. So popping this down, we have nice 2 cup holders over here with a little bit of a grip. Pretty sturdy center armrest as well. So that's also quite nice. But I have to say, I could sit in these seats for a good long road trip and feel very, very comfortable. We are even getting these really thick, very squishy headrests that are adjustable as well. And on the headroom front, since this vehicle is a little bit on the smaller side, and we do have the little moonroof up here, which kind of eats up some of the front headroom space, I actually feel completely fine back here. I really don't have any issues. I can move around completely freely, move my head all the way back. I don't have any hitting issues on the roof, and I am a 6-foot tall adult again, for example. Now, of course, if you want remote start, you're gonna have to use the Mazda app, which does have a subscription after some time, so keep that in mind. Lock and unlock is very simple as well. Just press this little button if we need to lock or unlock there, which is really easy. But again, this interior space is just absolutely gorgeous in this cabin. Again, nice door panels we have over here. We can see more of this nice contrasting stitching on the entire dash panel over here. Very premium feeling. Really nice soft touch materials in this whole center portion over here. And up here, we're getting a larger illuminated aluminum side sill plate over here, which glows at night. Really cool touch there. We have CX-30 branded floor mats as well over here. And just check out, again, these gorgeous front seats. Just as we saw out back, there's this really nice contrasting white leatherette over this gray kind of microsuede insert. We do have power adjustment for our driver's seat as well as power adjustable front lumbar, though we do not have a power front passenger seat on this particular one. The Turbo Premium Plus, I believe, does get that. Getting in over here, I will say this week I've hit my head right here about 3 times already trying to get out of the car. It is a very low sloping roofline up front over here, so maybe keep that in mind. But let's close up the door. Again, really nice solid funk, and I just love a Mazda interior. Just check out the space. Of course, we have our start stop button over here. We'll have our Mazda chimes that go on for quite some time until you put your seatbelt on. So as this is the Air Edition, we're getting all those really unique bits here. So the steering wheel itself is getting this really gorgeous contrasting gray stitching on it, as you can see here in this kind of baseball pattern with the leatherette. I love how Mazda does the really nice steering wheels here. And what I'm really impressed with in this car, not only is this contrasting stitching, but the build quality is just so high quality in here. I love all of these really nice touches in here, from this kind of stitching that carries throughout the entire dash panel up here all the way across. And check out this upper micro suede gray dash portion over here. Who is doing this in this class of vehicle? No one. This is so premium, so nice. It looks really, really high quality. And it even wraps around our entire air vent over here as well, all the way carrying to the passenger side. I really like that touch. And all of these touches carry out to the center piece over here. This whole side panel here is soft touch, which I love for your knee placement over here. They also stand out against the crowd with all the great physical buttons in here and not overwhelming you with a lot of digital technology, which I think is really great here. So as with all Mazdas, we have a really great little button panel over here. This one's getting your 360 camera views. We can turn off our safety systems. Parking sensors can be deactivated. We have an off-road kind of assist here. And again, this vehicle does not have auto stop start, so we don't have a button for that either because it's not even on the vehicle whatsoever. We also are getting memory front seats as well for our driver, and a little bit of a storage cubby over here, which is a nice little touch on the side panel over there. And their buttons on the steering wheel are very simple, easy to use, as is our digital cluster up here. Not a lot of options, but we can kind of configure this center panel over here to be a few different things, from our fuel economy to our assistance page here, or just a regular speedometer as well, which is really nice. Other than that, not much is dramatically new for the 2026 model year in the CX CX-30. We do have the larger 10.25-inch infotainment screen up here, of course, in your line of sight up here, and still control with Mazda's kind of Mazda infotainment scroll wheel over here. So we have our scroll wheel over here, music control access, navigation, back button, as well as a home button over here. Love our physical volume knob as well, which also blends in our tuning knob and a favorite switch down here. And again, I've said this on a lot of Mazda vehicles, I absolutely love this system. It is a touchscreen. When you are in Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you can use it as a touchscreen as you want. And there is a setting in our settings panel over here. If we go to connectivity settings, we can turn on and off the touchscreen in motion function over here. So you can see touchscreen in motion. That allows you to touch the display in Apple CarPlay or Android Auto while the vehicle is moving. And its own infotainment system is generally pretty simple to use. We have some basic fuel economy settings and pages here, which is nice. And since we have a heads-up display on this particular one as well, if you can kind of see that in the distance, Apple Maps and the built-in navigation system will display some turn-by-turn directions in that heads-up display over there, which is really nice. And I love how Mazda still separates their climate control systems in this little lower panel over here. So of course we have heated seats as well as a heated steering wheel in this particular one. So 3-stage heated seats, which is a nice touch. And of course we have a full automatic climate system in this particular one. Nice, simple, easy to use and easy to navigate dials and systems on this particular vehicle as well. And down here we are getting a few more features. So we have a wireless charging mat over here, which again, this is the one thing I'm not the biggest fan of in Mazda, is their wireless charging mats are just not the quickest. They kind of overheat my phone sometimes too. And you can actually disable it from the infotainment system if you just want to use this as storage all the time. We do have 2 large cup holders over here, which is nice, and a nice shift knob over here, a more traditional shifter, very nice and trimmed as Mazda typically does in this leatherette style fashion here. And this is how you're going to be able to use manual control in your vehicle since you don't have paddle shifters on this particular Turbo Aire Edition. We do still have a sport mode though with this little small drive select wheel over here, though it doesn't really change much in terms of the cluster up front. The only thing in this interior that I find a little bit frustrating sometimes is this center armrest's opening functionality. It's a little funky, so you actually cannot open it right now. You're like, why can't I open it? You really have to press very hard on this lever over here, and you have to slide it back, and then you can open it up right here. So it's kind of a 2-stage opening operation, and you could actually have it slid back like this. So you have this little opening access port over here, or you can slide it back forward. But when it's forward, you have to slide it back in order to open it up like this. And when you do open it up in here, it's actually a pretty decent sized storage space over here that is felt lined. And we do get 2 USB-C ports back here as well, which is a nice touch, and your SD card slot for your built-in navigation system. But I do like, again, the attention to detail. You can see how this trim panel kind of folds into here with the stitching. That's a really nice attention to detail here. Thankfully, you do still get a traditional glove box in this vehicle as well. So opening that up here, pretty decent amount of storage space in there, which is really nice. And you get 2 air vents over here integrated into this panel over here for our side passengers. And up here, we're getting a frameless rear view mirror, which is nice. But we do have home link integrated into here as well for your garage opening, which is nice. And up here, we have a very traditional Mazda upper panel. So we have nice bright interior LED lights, very premium. We have our control dial here for our very tiny little sunroof over here, which is nice. Opens and closes quite quickly because it is so small. We do have a manual shade to kind of shut that up, which is a nice touch. And we are getting a sunglass holder up here, which is lined with felt so your sunglasses won't get scratched. Really appreciate that. We still get a nice bright LED light up here as well, which is nice, and opens and closes with this little visor here. Do these scroll back? They don't, but we do have an extra little piece over here to cover up the other portion of the window, and it does actually look like it covers up that entire other portion of the window there, which is a nice touch there. But otherwise, this is a pretty small cabin, guys, and it's a great, wonderful cabin if you want a very personal vehicle. I would say if you have a family, it might be a little bit of a tough choice for the CX-30. You might want to step up to a CX-5 or a CX-50 just because the rear seats can be a little bit tight for a whole bunch of people and all of their cargo, for example. But if you are just driving the car around with yourself, you have 1 or 2 people, this is a wonderful, wonderful vehicle to have. It's a wonderful first car as well. It's affordable, has an absolutely insanely gorgeous interior for the money, and easy to use. Just hopping and going, you can just kind of use everything automatically. You don't really have to go deep into a big learning curve to kind of understand how this vehicle works. Off the line, you know, these Mazda turbo engines are just such a treat. We have a lot of power, a lot of low end torque. Torque is available from like 2,000 to 2,500 RPM, all that really meaty torque. It's almost like a diesel engine. I always say these turbos from Mazda, they're just so grunty in that aspect, and they have that really unique deep sound to them as well, which I really appreciate. Yeah, this thing is not slow whatsoever. This thing is really, really quick. Now you have to remember, the CX-30 also is not a heavy vehicle, so it can kind of use this power a little bit more to its advantage versus something like the Mazda CX-50 and obviously the larger vehicles. But this is a cool pairing with this engine. It really does remind me, and I really genuinely mean this, as a raised Mazda 3 hatchback. And it sort of is, at the end of the day, just a little bit bigger in some dimensions, but yeah, it's quite potent with this power. And again, that low end torque's really nice. Steering in the Mazdas is also just a wonderful treat. It's very nicely weighted. It doesn't feel light, it doesn't feel non-communicative. It's obviously not super communicative, but Mazdas still have some of my favorite steering in the segments across the board nowadays. They really do prioritize driver engagement, as does their gorgeous steering wheel. Just feeling it in the hand, you just feel like you want to drive the car. I really love how these feel. But you're going to notice we don't have paddle shifters on this vehicle whatsoever, which is an odd omission. We do have manual shifting via our gorgeously leather wrapped shift knob down here, and it is in the proper pattern. We have upshifts back towards you, downshifts going down this way. Of course, we have those 6 speeds we can cycle through. The venerable 6-speed automatic gearbox, we can call it now at this rate. It's been around for quite some time. No complaints with it. It's really nothing too bad. It's just not the newest gearbox. You know, it's not the highest, tallest gears. You know, those 8 speeds we're seeing nowadays. Even Mazda's doing 8 speeds in the CX-90. Been a little bit more beneficial for fuel economy, but they've been sticking with this 6-speed for quite some time now. It's been pretty solid and reliable, so I guess we can't really complain too much in that department. Driving dynamics of the CX-30 are just absolutely wonderful. I have quite a long time in the Subaru Crosstreks in my life, probably over 10 years, and even the newer ones up to this 2025 model year, they're still relatively pretty loud vehicles on the road, on the highway, in this cabin. You hear a lot of road noise coming in from the windows, from underneath the cabin. It's been quieter over the years, but they're not quiet. This car is quiet. This feels like a class above versus a Subaru Crosstrek in that aspect, and that's one of its main rivals in this segment here. So you're really going to be getting a much more premium experience and a better bang for your buck for the money, because it's pretty similar price range. You're getting around like 60-70 horsepower more, which is really nuts, because the higher engine of the Subaru Crosstreks is a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, which makes 186 horsepower. But I meant to say that the ride quality of this vehicle is just absolutely phenomenal. It's not only quiet in here, the suspension on all 4 corners is really, really well sorted. We also have new dampers for the 2026 model year, actually, so I think that's aiming to kind of provide a little bit more softer damping while also maintaining that nice body control the Mazdas have, which is, I think, a really nice touch. And coming out of a corner, this thing just rockets out of it. Really nice power out there. It kind of reminds me of a Subaru in that aspect, like a WRX. It kind of just rockets out of a corner, pretty nice and strong, especially with this I-Activ all-wheel drive system. Yeah, it holds those gears a little bit longer. Ooh, some turbo noise is coming out of the hood. Really like that. Yeah, this thing pulls. You're never going to feel like you're having a slow drive in a Mazda CX-30, and I really love its highway manners as well. You know, typical, I would say, of these more entry-level vehicle, you know, smaller SUV classes on the highway, they don't always typically feel well sorted in the aspects of being just capable, comfortable, and quiet, and feeling like a more premium product. At higher speeds, you don't feel like you're going super fast in this Mazda CX-30. I can't say that about some of the competition. So it fits nice and well on the highway here. It also, and shockingly, just reminds me a lot of how BMWs drive in that aspect. And what I mean by that is that turn in, when you're kind of going through lane changes, it's very quick and precise and very direct. I love that in this vehicle. And on the highway, again, it's very stable in a straight line. It's very comfortable, very confident in its motions. I love all of that about this Mazda CX-30. On the highway, we don't have any sort of higher advanced driver assistance systems in this particular Mazda CX-30, though we do have radar adaptive cruise control on this vehicle, which was very easy to set your speeds. We have a really great visuals and our heads-up display up there, though we're not getting steering or lane centering assist. We do get lane keep assist, and all that lane keep assist is really doing is simply just keeping you, kind of pogo sticking you in and out of these lanes over here. It's not necessarily going to be keeping you centered in the wheel, so you always have to have your hands on the steering wheel in your Mazda CX-30. Other than that, I think this cruise control system works pretty well. We have really good following distance controls over here, so we can kind of adjust through four different following distance controls here on our digital cluster or in our main display over here, which is really nice. And again, easily to adjust your speed. And if you kind of exit a lane, it kind of gives you a little vibration on the steering wheel, and it gives you a warning on there to, you know, take control of your Mazda CX-30, which is a nice little sign to see. But other than that, you are more of the person in control of this vehicle, and a lot of people do appreciate that these days. Some of these cars are getting so tech filled that it's just a little bit overwhelming with all the stuff going on in here. Mazda keeps it simple. You got your gauge cluster up here. They purposely separate all the other stuff into your infotainment screen, and they purposely, as we know, put it up there to keep it in your line of sight. And that's why we have our control wheel down here to make easy adjustments. Overall, this has been a really great week with the Mazda CX-30 Turbo Aire Edition. Super comfortable. I think it's still a really great value for your money in this class of vehicle here. You're getting such a premium experience in this vehicle for the same price point that you're getting a lot of its other competition at. So in that aspect, I think it's still a steal. It's a little bit smaller in the rear seats and the cargo space than some of its competitors, sure, but I think you can kind of make up for that if you're not kind of hauling people around all the time with just its sharp looks, its sharp design, and just really nice premium feeling cabin space in here. Now, I also have to mention how low you can get in this seat. Now, a lot of these other vehicles in this class, you kind of feel like you're sitting really, really, really high up in the vehicles here. But Mazda lets you get nice and low in this seat, and I'm actually not in the lowest position right now. I'm just gonna go down there just for a second. But you can see how much lower I can get in this seat, and you almost feel like you're sitting in deep into the vehicle. This is a very uncommon thing for a, you know, transverse front wheel drive based architecture. Even though all the CX-30s are all-wheel drive, you don't typically get that low seating position. But again, Mazda prioritizes their drivers and driving enjoyment. And also we have to talk about this 12-speaker Bose premium audio system, because I think this might be actually one of the best audio systems in this entire class of vehicle. It's so good. So before we turn on our audio test track here, we'll hop right over to our audio settings real quick. We can go to our sound settings right here in our built-in Mazda system. You have a few different adjustments from your bass, treble, listening position. A very small cabin, so that doesn't really make too much of a change. We have a fader, a balance, and our different stereo modes from stereo or linear for our Bose stereo modes. And we can adjust our Bose center point, which is our, you know, the surround sound aspect of this vehicle. So turn up the audio. Pretty nice. Just as with the typical higher end Bose audio systems from Mazda, this sounds great. And 12 speakers in a cabin this small really does make a really awesome surround sound experience in the CX-30. So again, wrapping up my week with the Mazda CX-30 Turbo Aire Edition. I am a huge fan. I would love to see some styling changes on the CX-30, maybe some technology upgrades in the interior and stuff, even though, you know, everything, I really like how it's still physical and how everything's laid out. But other than that, I really don't have any complaints for this car. It's just awesome. Great price, great value, great premium feel, and you can't go wrong with a Mazda these days. They're reliable, they're solid, they're gonna get you from point A to point B in style and with driving pleasure if that's something you really appreciate. As always, guys, thank you for joining us on yet another tour and full review over at Allcarnews, and as always, stay tuned for more coming soon. Cheers.